Project is that you look for a concrete bench on campus. There are some in engineering, there are some on the lagoon front, there are some at the DLI. Take relevant measurements and do a 3 solid model of the bench to the standard of the example given in lecture 001. Do not use my fully developed example. Use your own example. Take your own measurements. Don't use my own measurements. Use your own. This will be due Wednesday, July 7, 2021. Submit your drawings online to the admin by Wednesday, July 7, 2021. So we will start today with the sketch. The strategy of our lectures. Last week, you were told to go to Autodesk teaching videos. I directed you, showed you how to reach it, starting from the help menu from your user interface. You click it and you go 2 or 3 steps away and you get to where the videos for beginners are. I suggested you watch 8 videos over 1 week. Some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are more, some are less. It's not too difficult to watch 8 videos over 1 week. You continue to watch these videos. The fact that you watch the video once doesn't mean you cannot. Videos are quite well done. Autodesk videos are often exhaustive. They try to explain everything. They cover virtually every feature in the interface. They can become boring and exhausting after some time. You may be learning too much for your mind to process. If you find that your mind cannot swallow all the things you are learning, you are not alone. It happens to everybody, even your teacher gets to that. So in order to help you, the lectures will try not to repeat everything the videos say. Instead, we will cover a few things and use them. This may put some flesh on some of the things you have watched. You are to learn iteratively. You learn, you practice, you go back to learn again. And if you just think you can cram, you will do yourself 2 disservices. You are going to fail the course, and secondly, you are not going to have your skill. It is even more important and more critical to me that you have the skill, because if you have drafting and 3-dimensional solid modeling skills this early in your program, there is so much to learn. Right now, we are starting with the graphical user interface. Later on, if we have time, we would go to the application programmer's interface, which is another realm entirely. And then by the time we do simulation and animation and so many other things, you can see that this is not just what can be covered in one course. So, and the good thing about it is that you can learn on your own. There are teaching guides online that are good. So most of the good ones are paid for. The free ones are not always very good. If you need some things that I omit, you already know where to find accurate information. But don't just store information in your head. Store information in your ability to do things. Practice, practice, practice. So what we are going to start with right now is how to set preferences in Fusion 360, how to set preferences. We do not all think the same way, and we may not be comfortable with the same settings. Fusion 360 allows us to set several preferences to govern how the graphical user interface, which we call GUI, behaves. One way to reach these settings and make them suit your way of working is to set preferences. It's not the only way, but that's one sure way to do it. Look at the applications bar to the top and go to the right side of it. If you look at the application bar, which is the top bar on your screen, you go to the right side of it. But before I show you, just remember that most of these settings are for the graphical user interface. There will be one of the settings that apply to the application user interface, and there are 2 different things entirely. I'll talk more about both later on as we move on. Let us say this is your screen, and this are your eyes. You look to the right of your screen. Just let your eyes go this way. You will see several things. Two of them will be a question mark, and another one may be your name. If you have set it correctly, it may be your picture. If you have not set it that your picture is showing, I'll show you how to do that right away, so that on your own installation, it is your photograph that will be showing here. So if it is only, if right now you are only saying your name, you will use the preferences to set it to put your picture there, if you prefer that. I'm sure you will likely prefer that. That is, so this is this whole length entirely is called the application bar. It has some icons on the left, which are about the filing system and your data handling, saving, going back and going forward, undo and redo. And here you have some other icons, one of which will be to set to the help menu that you have used before, and then your picture or your name. So if you take your name and you click it, then there's a drop down. You will see this drop down. First thing you see there is Autodesk account, then preferences, my profile, and so on. On the right side of the application bar, you will find 6 icons where the arrow points, 2 of which should be the question mark icon that assisted you to reach your videos as explained in our first class, your name or picture icon depending on the details you have already included in your settings. These are both to the right of the others. Click the name icon or your picture as relevant. You will see a drop-down shown, the drop-down shown, and look for Autodesk account. The Autodesk account there is talking about your own account with Autodesk. So that is what it's showing. If you click on that, you may have noticed, for example, that my display screen shows my passport photograph at the corner. You can have yours behaving that way too. This and several other things can be done by clicking the edit pencil or plus marks to the right side against any modifications you'd like to effect. I will show you what you should see, but go and see it yourself. The next page shows you my dialog for this. The number of things you can edit continues as you scroll further down the page. It's up to you to decide how many things you need to add to your account. Be accurate and professional. Don't think you are on social media here where you can tell lies and put all sorts of things that are not true. It is a good idea that in a professional discussion, you are as accurate as possible, because you may be starting, there's nothing stopping you from getting job outsourced to you from overseas if you are good enough. So if somebody knows that you are already, Nigeria doesn't have a good reputation to start with. So if you are also known to be one of those bad actors in Nigeria, you quickly get yourself blacklisted, which is what you deserve. Be accurate and professional in doing these things, as the association may last long. You don't know how long the association will last. So if you tell one lie now, you need to tell another lie to cover it. So better give the right information. So this is the kind of thing you see. Your name is required. So your name is likely to be already in the first row here. And then if it is not correct, you can click there will be either a plus sign or a pencil mark at the end. If it's a plus sign, that means that you have not yet added that field. But if there's a pencil mark, it means that you are being requested to change the field if you want to change it. Similarly, photo. So if you put add here, it can allow you to browse through your computer or internet or wherever to go and put whatever photo you like. If it's your photo or your photo of your dog or photo of whatever you like, you can put it there. And then you can now describe yourself. We are here. And then you can put professional information, your job title, your company, your industry. If you keep going down, if you scroll down on your Autodesk menu, you are going to see more things you can put. And those are the things about your Autodesk account that you can set here. When you have agreed and you have left that, you can come back again and go to preferences. Selecting the drop down again can be used to get to the preferences setting. Click the name icon and you will see the drop down and look for preferences. When you get to preferences, and when you get there, click preferences. When you do that, you are going to have a whole large list of things that can be changed. large leaps of things that can be changed. You if you click this arrow down, it will reduce it to general, electronics, cloud credits, material, mesh, directory, graphics, and so on. So it first of all has preferences that are deliberate to the workspaces. So the preferences can be directed to workspaces. In the general preferences, there is a language setting, graphics user, a graphics driver, which is better left at auto select. But if you are more knowledgeable about your computer, you can be very particular, especially if your computer has more than one graphics driver. Then all these other things, when you don't know something, just leave it alone. Offline, the catch period, just leave some of those things alone. I want to do a demonstration on tooltips, which is one of the things here. For instance, right now, the tooltips box is checked in my preferences. So I'm going to demonstrate this. So I'll move to my Fusion 360 screen. And when I get there, I set my preferences. Okay, so in preferences, you see tooltips are turned on here. So let us forget about it. And let us see what happens with the tooltips turned on. For example, let us say I go to this navigation bar. You can see that as I am choosing each navigation bar, the first one, you can see a tooltip flies out. That is free orbit. If I go to the next one, you can see look at. If I go to the next one, you can see pan. Next one, zoom. After that, fade. After that, display settings. After that, grid and snap. And then viewport. Even if I go up here, you can see this these two boxes. You see these icons, the two box icons here. You see fix and unfix, midpoint, trim. So see, these two tips are telling you as your arrow, as your mouse cursor waits on them, gives you information, instruction about what those things can do for you. If you just put in your arrow quickly, it will just tell you something. If you wait, it will give you more information. If this one say coincident, then it explains. So all these two tips are there. You can see that virtually everything that is on the screen can be, you can have tips on them. You have tips on everything, even including how to close the data panel. And so that is, now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to change that. I'm going to go back to preferences. When I get to preferences, I will turn these two tips off by just clicking it so that it's no longer checked, so that there's no check mark against two tips. I say apply and say okay. Okay, so now let me go back to the navigation panel. So I'm now at the navigation panel. You can see nothing happens, no two tips again. Here, no two tips again, no two tips, no two tips. So because I have said I don't want to see two tips, so the two tips have been turned off. That's how powerful this preferences setting can be. So maybe you are helping a friend and you find out that he's complaining, my two tips are not coming up, and it's coming up in another person. Just know that he has maybe mistakenly touched something and he has reset his two tip. That's all. So you can help him out that way. But I always like my two tips. You never know too much. You can always use some help when you are doing Fusion 360. So it's a good idea to apply and set your two tips on. So let us go back to the PowerPoint page again. So I have demonstrated the showing of two tips. There are so many other things. Command prompt, show default measure. All those things are things that you can change. If you don't even know what those things are supposed to do, you can turn them on and off and see whether you can appreciate the difference that it has made. All these things are just in the general settings that you can see in preferences. Preferences, we can spend the entire month on preferences, we will not finish. That's why I like the very good summary that Autodesk does It's very comprehensive, and they are the makers of the software. But you cannot memorize all the things they are saying. Though those things are better, they are better used than crammed. Okay, so let us see. We are now on workspace specific preferences. The general section of preferences, as we have seen, applies to the interface. There are groups of preferences settings that are specific to individual workspaces. For instance, you can have a preference that is a setting that is for the API design, for manufacture, for electronics, for render, for drawing, for simulation, and generative design. All these things are different because Fusion 360 allows you to work in different workspaces depending on what you are trying to do. Most of the time in this course, we are going to stay in the design workspace. But don't forget, there is also the API workspace. In the design workspace, we are working with the GUI. We are working with the graphical user interface. And in the API, we are working with the application programmers interface. The two lead to the same end. The GUI and the API, they do the same thing. But the methods that they use to do them, those methods are completely different. Whereas the GUI just allows you to pick graphical icons and images and work with your mouse and achieve your results. The API does it another way. It allows you to write program commands in Python or C++. So the Fusion 360 API right now only recognizes C++ or C or Python. So you can see my dilemma. When I was going to teach this course, I was thinking maybe I should use C++, but I know C++ is much harder to teach than C#, but it does not allow for C#. So Python was the next best choice. So if we do API programming, we will be doing it in Python. If you don't know Python, it is better for you to find a way to start learning Python. I teach Python at 300 level. Maybe next session, I will teach it at 200 level, but that will be too late for you. So there are groups of preference settings that are specific to individual workspaces. Others go beyond the user interface, GUI, to the programmer's interface. Here, for example, you can select the language to be used for programming scripts and add-ins. I will talk about scripts and add-ins as we move along. Essentially, the way to write them is the same, but the way to use them is a little bit, one is different from the other one. But to code them is essentially the same, whether if you can write both of them in C++ or in Python. The choice of Python for this course is simplicity and leveraging to other uses such as AI. You see, Python lends itself to other uses such as AI, machine learning, data analytics, and other emerging knowledge areas that may become important to you for your bread and butter in the future. If I tell you, go find a way to learn Python now, I am not being wicked, I'm being kind to you. Python is important enough that you should not be in a university while you don't know Python. I teach Python to secondary school children because I don't see why somebody will come to university to come and do engineering and he does not already know Python. Python should be learned in SS1, not in the university. But as it is, we will try and see what we can do since you're already grown up and you are here with us. Those who are still in secondary school, we are looking for ways to start teaching them online for secondary school children. We've had a number of children that are going to that. What we are teaching in Python in the university can be learned at secondary school level. There's nothing needed in university entrance to learn Python. We could have used C++, but C++ is a little bit hard. It doesn't give us, Fusion 360 does not have an option to use C# at all. Not only so, you also have to use Visual Studio Code. But this course will not emphasize the application programmer's interface, API. But in case there are people who are already programming, I will keep giving programming extensions to the course, to the lectures, so that if you go further, you can see that there are projects you can do with programming, which might be very interesting for those who already can program. And if you learn to program, you can take some of those my code snippets and use them for yourself. So there are workspace specific preferences and you'll see them. Now, you can also adjust some of the other GUI settings. One of the first things you do in Fusion 360 is to customize the environment to suit yourself. Make yourself comfortable. Your setting can be different from others. You can change existing settings to become more comfortable on the fly. Don't memorize this, just do it. Look again at the initial display as it ought to appear upon starting. Find the navigation panel. That is the panel that is at the bottom center. Centered at the bottom of your screen. This is designed to help you control the graphical user interface. That navigation panel is supposed to help you take control over what you are doing in the graphical user interface, where with a combination of those things like your mouse movement, key press, wheel move. When you add those two together, it gives you a lot of power to do and undo with your graphical user interface. Now, this is the navigation bar. So look here. This thing here is the navigation bar. So look down here. See the navigation bar. Before we were looking at this corner here on the applications bar, but now we are looking at the navigation bar. Okay, yeah, this is a bigger show of it, of the same thing, so that you can see it more clearly if you didn't already. Okay, so for the application bar, the first three icons will allow you to do orbiting, looking, and panning. In orbiting, you will see that there's a drop down. So there are two orbiting settings. One is constrained orbit, the other one is free orbit. Whichever one you choose, what you will notice is that once you have picked the orbit, as you hold a key down and you move, you'll see that whatever drawing you have on screen will be rotating. And one of them is supposed to rotate in about an axis. The other one is supposed to rotate about a point. So one is freer than the other. Even though the last time I used, I did not really feel that difference. But you might see that difference that I did not detect. But those are two different things. But I think it's a good idea not to just talk about it, but to just go and let me use a better picture than the one that I have here. Let's see whether I can have something that will be clear. This one is not a bad one. So suppose I choose a orbit here. If I click this, it gives me the orbit. If I click this one now, it gives me the orbit. So I can move it. I can see it in any way I want. So what I'm doing here is that my right mouse button is pressed down, and with the orbit selected, I can move it to any convenient location depending on what I want to see. So I can see anything I want to see. I can look inside anywhere. I can see this connecting rod in different ways. So this is one orbit. The other thing, you can click the drop down of the orbit and you take constrained orbit. In constrained orbit, you are supposed to be able to move in a constrained way. But I found myself being able to move in any way. And in fact, I found that with constrained orbit, okay, constrained orbit is a little bit constrained, to be sure. Constrained orbit constrains the thing a little bit, because with free orbit, you can move. You can so you pick whichever one you like of the two, and it will be okay. Now, let us see another key here is look at. Look at is the name of this next key. So suppose I click this face and I click it after I've clicked look at. So it just turns it to a two-dimensional thing with that particular face facing me. Then we can go back home. Let's see. I want to see my home icon. I don't know what it will do. If I want to look at this solid, if I want to look at it will be interesting. I've never done this before. If I want to look at the cylindrical surface here, let's see what it will do. It doesn't do anything. Okay, it's difficult because it just looks at one section of it by that's all it can do. So similarly, when you want to look at cylindrical surface, but it is usually very good. It's a very fast way to take. For example, if I want to look at this surface, it's if I click it and press look at, it will just show me that surface very well. And then I can always remember, I can always return to the home view. Can always return to the home view by clicking home here. You will see later that you can set what that home view should be. This is the home view pre-specified in the, this is what is pre-specified in the programming environment. So you can take anything and say, look at, and it will look at it that way. Okay, now the next thing, the next key there is pan. Pan, if you choose pan, and you can move things, whereas orbit rotates, pan moves horizontally, vertically, and can pan to anywhere. This can be very useful when you are, this can be very useful when you want to look at a particular part of an object. For instance, let us say these things like this. Some part of it is hidden. You can just use pan to bring it out. But that is not the only way to pan. You can also hold down your mouse wheel. If you hold down your mouse wheel, it will invoke that pan automatically. You can see, but just holding down my mouse wheel, you can see that blue, you can see, watch this hand here. You can see that once I hold down my mouse key, the blue, the hand sign on the pan turns blue. So that is it. So you can either do it by clicking here and pressing the right mouse button, or you can leave it alone and just hold down the wheel button. It will achieve the same thing. Many times in Fusion 360, the number of things you can, there are a number of ways in which you can do something. So if you see, for instance, let us say I make this thing so big and it is bigger than the screen. This fit key can fit it to the screen so that you can see everything. It gives it the size that just fits the screen. That is this one. This one does that. And if it is very small, I can, okay, if it is very small, I can use my mouse button to make it to zoom and unzoom. So this is one. But again, it is not necessary because your mouse wheel can be used to do this very, very efficiently. In fact, your mouse wheel can carry all this, can do all these first four icons. You can achieve them with your mouse wheel. If you know how to use your mouse wheel very well, you may not even need to refer to any of this, and you can achieve what they are achieving. But there are, as we said earlier on, there are usually more than one way to do anything in Fusion 360. So let us now look at the last three icons. The last three icons are the settings icon. The first one sets the display. Then you have grid and snap, and then you have viewports. Now let us look at the display settings. In the display settings, you can set the visual style. You can play with this. There are several settings there, and there are keyboard shortcuts like Control-4, which set your shaded, Control-5, and so on. We set other things. The way Fusion 360 looks visually can be changed by changing things there. I can't tell you how the others will look. I'll leave that to you to go try them out. Then the way mesh is displayed can be shown in the other one. Then there's this environment settings. Right now, my environment setting is dark sky. Suppose I make it tranquility blue. If I choose tranquility blue, this is what you have. So I can change I can change several things. The way things look, the look and feel, I can change it in the environment setting, and then, or infinite pool, or in the environment settings, gray room. So it depends on what makes you feel good or what you like. So you can change the color or the color of the display. You can also change object visibility. There are several things there are several things you can set here. The video will tell you how those things, I don't know the meaning of, I don't know all those things of it. I only know the ones I look at. But one important thing you can set is the camera. You can set your camera between orthographic and perspective. In both cases, there is a vanishing point. But the vanishing point for orthography is at infinity, whereas the vanishing point for perspective is at a finite point. So you need to understand how to move between those two. Sometimes you want orthographic projection, some other times you may like perspective. I think for me to really show you what these things do, I think I would prefer to find a different, okay, this one, this will show you, this will do it a little bit better. Now, what is this? This is simply the same bench. The colors here may not be the colors, may not be realistic, may not be the colors of your bench, but this is giving specific information. Let me tell you what information this is giving you from the point of view of a Fusion 360 user. From here, you can see that this bench is classified into 4 components. The one component is the arm. You can see that the arm on the left and the arm on the arm on the left and the arm on the right are exactly the same, just they are replicas. So all the drawing is done in one, and all we just did is to replicate that drawing and put it here. That's all. So there's no new work done here. You can, once you have finished a component, you can make 2 copies, 10 copies, 50 copies, 100 copies. So it will just be the same thing, more of the same. So you can see these 2 things are of the same color. And if you go to the browser, you see ARM1 is of the same color as ARM2. ARM1 is the identifier ARM1. ARM2 is what is identifier ARM2. But both of them are the same color because they are referring to the same component. If you are a C++ programmer and you understand what is called pointers, that means that in the memory of Fusion 360, there's only one drawing. All that is happening here is that a pointer says, give me 2 copies of what is there. So the computer is very efficient. It doesn't have 2 arms, only 1 arm, and it can replicate and put in positions as you choose. Now, I want us to see what happens when we take a look at this thing from this edge. I want to take a look at this thing from this edge. So I will click look at. Now, you can see what has happened. Everything disappears. The only thing you can see is the edge, because this is in orthographic projection where the vanishing point is an infinity, and it appears as if the rays of light are parallel. When the rays of light are parallel, anything that is parallel can only be seen on the edge. So that is one example of a camera setting. Your camera is setting here to orthographic. So let us go and change that camera setting. Let us go and change that camera setting to perspective. If we change that camera to perspective, you can see what has happened here immediately is that you can see through the other part of the other armrest, because your vanishing point now is no longer at infinity. So there are converging rays of light, and because there are converging rays of light, if you look carefully, you will see that some part of the other arm is also showing around here. It's showing around here, so you can see the other side of the armrest here. So that is your perspective. Let us do that again from another. Let's do that. Let us use the view cube here. You know, in view cube, I can rotate this as I like. I can, using the view cube here, I can use these arrows. I can use these arrows. Okay. For instance, it is interesting to see this in perspective. You see this in perspective. This arm is right in front of us, so we are only seeing its edge. But this arm is to our right. We are not only seeing the edge, we are seeing a side of it. The perspective gives you what you are like, the way you are likely to see the object in real life. Because usually in perspective, the vanishing point is your eye. Everything, the rays emanate from your eye. So they are not parallel. They are not coming from the sun, and they are not coming from infinity. So that is it. But let me pan this and see what happens. You can see the change in perspective. You can see the change in perspective. You can see now on this side, I'm able to see only the edge, but on this other side, I'm seeing a whole side. So if I pan again, I pan it down, if I pan it up, you can see all the things, you can see all the various ways, you know, in perspective, you are able to actually see things from different perspectives. That is what perspective camera setting does for you. You're able to see things from different perspectives. And then you can still use your view cube to do many things. You can see why I'm using the view cube here. And then you can set things. And in fact, you can decide to set your current view as front. You can name your views. You can name your views, and you can also set a view as home. You can also take a view and set it as home. Once you set that view as home, many times you press the hot information here, it will return to that view. So it is for you to select what view is home. You can do that by looking at the drop-down menu that comes from the view cube. So you can set other things. So you can also do, so this navigation bar is not the only place where you can make settings. You can even make your settings right at the view cube. For instance, we can move from perspective to orthographic by clicking it here. Now, we are no longer in perspective, we are now in orthographic. How do I prove it? Let us look at this edge now. You can see we are now in orthographic projection. So that setting does not have to happen in the navigation. It can happen even in the view cube. Like I said, the number of ways you can get things done vary greatly in Fusion 360. You do not have just one single way of doing anything. Okay, so that is, so I want to move now back to my presentation PowerPoint. So we have explained orbiting, then we have explained looking. So you can look, you can also pan. We have explained all of that. Okay, so we have also explained the difference between the orthographic and perspective views. As an example of the possibilities in navigation bar, we'll demonstrate the following. Choose an orthographic camera in the camera settings, then use look at. Okay, we've already done all of this, and I put a note to myself to do a demo, which I think I've already done. I hope you are satisfied with that. In the display settings, there are tons of things you can adjust in the display setting, and let us look at one of them. In the effects option, you can control both the appearance of the ground plane and whether a shadow should appear or not. What I want you to do is to look at this section of the bench and this section of the bench. If you are careful, you will see that there's a shadow on the floor on this bench, and there is no shadow on this bench. There is a shadow here, there's no shadow. Sometimes you like the thing to be realistic, to show you a shadow so that you will see where the sun is, where the up is. You always know where the up is. And then, but some other times you don't want a shadow, you don't want that additional coloring to disturb you. I think it's not a bad idea to go demonstrate this inside the Fusion 360 itself. Okay, here I can go to effects, and I can say ground shadow. So you can see, once I choose ground shadow, you can see this. And let me even do an orbit. If I do an orbit, okay, let me do a free orbit. You see, the one thing about the shadow is that it is telling you that even though this thing is looking like this, that it's still reminding you which way up is, because up is the opposite of where the shadow is set. So that the shadow can be useful for you to, because you have a complicated drawing, you may not remember where you set to be your up or down. So that shadow can be. But let me just show you something interesting about the shadow. You can also, in the effects, it allows you to choose not only the shadow, it allows you to choose whether there should be a ground plane or not. Now, if I remove the shadow, I can even remove the ground plane. So there is no ground pane. So this thing is just hanging in the air. There's no ground pane. Now, you can see that if there's no ground pane, I cannot put a ground shadow because a ground shadow requires a ground pane to be on. So since the ground pane is turned off, the ground shadow is not available for choice. But if I turn on the ground pane, then I can choose to have a ground shadow, not otherwise. So that is that. I can also choose to have a ground reflection. So you can see the ground reflection. Let us take a look at this. You can see the ground reflection. That is, it's as if the ground is a piece of glass and you can see some reflection of the drawing on top. So that is something you can have. You can have shadow as well as reflection or one or the other. But you can have neither of them unless you have the ground pane selected. So that is the thing here in the effects. So you could also select object shadow, ambient occlusion, anti-aliasing. I don't know what all of them mean, but if you really care, you can find out from the help menu or some of the videos that you will watch. And then we can also look at object visibility. We already talked about the camera. You can also set an offset of the ground pane. The ground pane could be at 0, 0, 0 at the origin pane, which would be the XY. It could be the XY axis at the origin, or you can set an offset for it. So it starts from a particular point, but you can decide where your ground pane will appear. Okay, so enough for those settings. The next settings we have there, if I forget the name of this setting, all I need to do is to hover my mouse button there, and it tells me that that other icon is about grid and snaps. Grid and snaps can be very useful, can also be annoying. For instance, you can have a layout grid here. If you click this, you have a layout grid. You can set the grid settings. You can set the grid settings. Now the grid setting is set at 10 millimeters. Now suppose I set the grid setting at 100 millimeters. So you can see the grid setting is a little bit more reasonable. If I set it at 200, you can see that is the grid setting. It appears as if my setting here is oh, it's orthographic. I thought it was perspective. It's orthographic. So you can see all the things I've set now. I've set my grid. I have my ground shadow, and I have my ground reflection. All of that are happening all at the same time here. Okay, so those are, you can see from here. You can get your grid setting. You can also snap to grid. Snap to grid can be very powerful and it can be very annoying. So if you snap to grid, it will not allow you move to points that are in between the grids. So either that you set your grid very fine so that your snap to grid can work. And snap grid can make your drawing more accurate because it will set to predefined grid points. So it's up to you. And then you can also set the increment move. I've never used this before. You can set increments and so on. So you try those things on your own if you are interested in them. And then there's a viewport which gives you multiple views. I don't want to go into this. I think I like what the video tells you very much about that. Go to the video and learn more about that as much as you want. So let me go back now to my PowerPoint and see where I am at. So you can see we have showed several things you can set in the effects and other things in that middle button. There are tons of things to adjust here. Consider the ground and ground shadow, ground shadow, and even ground mirror. The effects option, you can control both appearance of the ground pane and whether a shadow should appear or not. The picture on the top left shows both the ground pane and the shadow. Now attempt to remove the ground pane while the shadow is still to be shown. You cannot do it. If you have a shadow set to be on, you are not allowed to remove the ground pane because to remove the ground pane will automatically switch off the shadow. But with the way Fusion 360 behaves, that it doesn't even allow you. It knows that you already need the ground to show a shadow. So component-based design. The bench showed is an example of a component-based design. So we will be designing using components. So it is a very efficient way to design. So you have something like this bench, we put it in 3 components. And in the component color coding section, makes the different components explicit. This doesn't have any effect on the material you are using. You can decide that you want to see the bench based on the actual material used. That is another view. This is the component view of this bench. The components here are arm, base, bench, and backrest. Each component begins with a sketch. And in this case, the 3rd dimension is created via extrusions in the 4 components. While we can create each in situ, Fusion 360 comes with a powerful assembly ability that it does not matter where you create. So let us say you created this backrest, as long as you create it accurately somewhere else. Fusion 360 does not have any problem in aligning it and assembling it. Assembly is one of the powerful functions of Fusion 360. When we get to that, you'll see how powerful assembly things can be. Now, I want us to spend more time today on creating sketches. Before I allow you to go on break, I'm going to try and create a very simple sketch. This is the actual sketch that I used after taking measurements of the bench you are looking at. Now, it might look complicated. It is not. You will be surprised that very soon you will do this. It might look complicated, but we are going to go through it in rough sketch, and then we'll do the real thing later on. And then by the time you have taken your measure, you will see that you can actually do things. So you will be doing things that are far, far, far more complicated than this in a short time if you follow simple instructions, if you practice as you are instructed. But if you wait, so what I'm going to do is to let you first of all see that if you look at this drawing, you will see that the top here is a circular rounding here. And that circle is located at the point which is exactly vertically related to this point here. So we're going to do this drawing by using this distance and the fact that this thing is right on top. So, and here it is let us see what it is. It is a circle of 180 millimeters. That's a circle of 180 millimeters there. And the center is located at 850 from this point. Whereas this point itself has a horizontal measure. There's a horizontal measure here. I can't see it. I'm trying to see this horizontal measure. Let me just go to the actual drawing. I couldn't find that horizontal measure. I can do that by doing an edit, by editing this feature. No, it's not giving me the edit I want. No, it's not editing the feature. It's editing the profile sketches. Aha, this is what I need. I need this profile sketch. I want to see what the bottom of this thing is. The bottom here, yes, it's 400. So the bottom here is 400, and the vertical height here, is 850, and you have a circle here of diameter 180. So let me just take note of those. Let me take note of those 3, and we are going to start this drawing from scratch. So I have the bottom of 400, and you have a vertical something here of 650, and here you draw a circle. You draw a circle there. Steve, I'm in a class. I'm teaching a class. I'm teaching a class. I can't answer you. Are you in my house? I am teaching a class.
Okay, I'm on my way coming to speak.
Okay, the door is open. Okay, so there's a comment. Let me just see what somebody is complaining about or what somebody wants to know. So let's see. Okay. I can't see what the question is. Is there a question? Yeah, no. Okay, so let us see how to start this. And I'm just going to use this to show you the power of the sketching, the sketch creation facilities in Fusion 360. So I want to start a fresh drawing. So I go to my Fusion 360 and I'm going to create a fresh drawing. This thing is too dark. Well, perhaps it doesn't matter. I hope you can see it. Let us start with a horizontal line of 400. And before we do that, we just say, the first thing we do is say create sketch. We want to create a sketch. In order to create a sketch, you have to take a plane on which the sketch will be. Here, I have chosen to create a sketch on the ZX plane. So once I create the sketch on ZX plane, the ZX plane is given to me. So let me take that base as at the origin. So the first thing is that I create a line, and that line is horizontal, and I want that line to be 400 units. So once I say okay, if I want it to be 400 units, I can dimension it, and I say I want this line to be 400. So that line is 400. And in order to see everything, I can fit it in. So I fitted it in, but it's still too big. So that is a 400. That line is 400. That is what we saw at the base just now. And we now have a circle somewhere up here, and that circle is at 650 from the base. Now, here is how you understand the strategy of creation of objects in Fusion 360. To create that circle in Fusion 360, I am not going to measure anything. I can come here and I have an idea of where that circle should be located. I want to create a center circle. Well, I know that that circle I want to create should be somewhere around here. I deliberately don't even make it vertical. I just say, and then the radius of it should be 180, if I remember. Okay, so the radius of it is 180. But remember that our circle should be 650 vertically up here. So first of all, to make it vertically up, you use what is called a constraint. And we are going to use the horizontal vertical constraint. So to do that, I choose this center, and I choose this center, and I say horizontal vertical. Okay, let me say again, this. So the horizontal vertical constraint brings this vertically on top of this. Remember, I just drew it anywhere, but I drew it deliberately around where I think it should be, and then I constrain it horizontally vertically. Remember, it is not my business to make sure that this is horizontal vertical. That ability is provided by the constraints. So the next thing for me to do is to be sure that this is at 650 from this point. So I can create a dimension, and I take this point and this point, and I want it to be 650. So you can see that the circle is white, the line is white. That shows that those two things are fully defined as far as Fusion 360 is concerned. And you see this is at 650 up, and this is 400 wide. That is what you are looking for. Okay. Now, in order not to, it will be too time consuming to be drawing that in exactly. So let me show you. Remember how we did this now? We wanted a circle here, and I'm going to do a rough and ready. I'm going to do a rough and ready armrest. So suppose I just pick this one, and I just take an angle here, and let's see here. I pick this. And then also take this one, pick it here. So I can take I want a line from here that is tangent. I want a line from here that is tangent to, but this 650 looks so small. Let me just take a look at what I had before. Is this 650? No, it's not 650, it's 850. No wonder, because it was not looking too, it was just looking too short. Okay, so if it is 850, not 650, all I do is to go and edit this. 850. Okay, that looks better. Now I want to draw a line. I want something tangential to this that would meet this one somehow. By the time you go and collect your own data, you will have an idea of how this one should look like. Okay, I just say something like this. And I have another one here, which will be something like this. These two are not parallel. And then I want some line here which goes way back here horizontally. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm first of all going to make sure that this line is tangent, these two lines are tangent to this. So to do that, you don't try to use your eye to make it tangential. Just draw it close enough and then use the tangent constraint. So there's a constraint there called tangent. Take this one and then say you want this to be a tangent to this. So it is now exactly a tangent. Then you use what is called the marking menu. You click your right mouse key and you will see some of the important commands, especially the one you have just used. Say repeat tangent. So tangent here to here. So you can see those two lines are tangent to this circle. Those two lines are tangent to this circle. What am I going to do next? What I'm going to do next is that I'm going to create a modification to this line and this line. I want this line and this line to be, I want to do a filleting between this and this. And that filleting is going to make these two join each other in a rounded cyclic way. So you can see that they are not touching, but if I choose a fillet and I pick this one and this one, you can see that the fillet is there. I can decide to make the fillet radius small or big. So let me make this fillet radius big like this. Okay, let me make it 600. What this should be exactly, you probably can do that by going to do your measurement. Okay, the same way, I want this one and this one to be fillet to each other. So I pick the filleting tool. So this one and this one is the fillet. So again, I can make this as the way I want it. Okay, so 138, let me make it 140 to make it a rounded figure. So that is it. Now, there are several things I need to do. I want to tidy things up. In order to tidy things up, I want to pan this thing to the center and make it big. So if I pan it to the center and make it big, you will see that I have too much. This line, even though it's tangent as I want, but there's an extra one here, there's an extra one here. I don't want those extras. So I want to remove the extras. I use the trim tool in the modify. If I take the trim tool, I click this, it knows precisely how much to trim. It trims all the way to the point, and then I can trim this one. I can get that. I will also want to trim this part so that you can see this is just the crest of that circle. I don't need the whole circle. And then once I'm done, I can allow the thing to fit the plane. I don't like where it has thrown it, so I move it back here. So you can see we're getting somewhere gradually. I could also add fillets to these places. I can take a fillet here and I can choose these two lines and then this line and this line, there's a fillet there. I can make it as much as the way I like. So, and it is giving me all those figures. Let me make that fillet 20. So it's changing all those, it's rounding up those things. And if you look at the original drawing, you will see that the horizontal part of the bench is somewhere here. For that, I can choose a center rectangle. I can choose a center rectangle and put that thing like this. The bench now is not where I want it to be. It's not where I want it to be. I can mark it. I can pick that bench. So I've marked that bench, and I can choose copy, move. I can choose move copy to move it to, okay, no, it is touching the wrong thing. So I want to undo that. I want to undo that. How can I choose this? Let me remove that. Let me draw that bench somewhere else. Let me draw that bench outside until I'm happy with it. Again, if you want to draw the bench, if you want to draw that, it is, you can use a center. If it is rectangular thing, you can use a center. No, you must use a center rectangle. You would have gone to the place and taken your measurement. You can use a center rectangle and then, so once you are happy with it, oh, why is it not giving me center rectangle? Okay, let us say the horizontal one is 250 and the vertical one 25. Say, okay, so it has done that. I want to move this to the correct place. So for me to move it to the correct place, what I need to do is to select it. I can select it by putting something to fully hold it, and I can choose move copy. Move copy here. I can use these arrows to move it back or forward, and I can use this one to move it down. So this one moves it. If I'm happy with it that way, I can choose it. So that is there. Okay, and then the next thing I want the backrest. Again, I can choose to create a center rectangle, a smaller one for the backrest. Okay, so this one has to be rotated. So if I choose move copy, I rotate it, and then I can move it. Then I can move it. If I'm happy with it, or I want a little bit more rotation, I can rotate to the final thing. Or I want the rotation to be further this way. Okay, so I pressed the wrong key. So move copy again. I want to first of all select what I want to move, select it, then choose move copy and rotate it appropriately. So minus 90. So that is that. So you have this. The last thing I want to do is to put a hole. There's a hole at the bottom here. That's again coming from a rectangle. So that's a much bigger rectangle this time. Okay, I can draw that rectangle directly. So center rectangle here. So it will be centered around here. Okay, so we have that. So this is an example of what we can call an arm. We can do more stuff here, and we can decide to do more dimensioning, and but to just make it look simple, just leave it like this. Now we can go home, and we can say, okay, and finish sketch. So this is the sketch. This is enough to make our armrest, and because it doesn't take more than 5 more minutes to make the whole bench. Now, see, for instance, you can create an arm by creating an extrusion. If I create an extrusion and I extrude this for some distance, let us say I extrude it through 75. That is that. If that is too thick, I make it thinner. So you can see that the arm is ready. If I want to make the other arm, all I need to do is to replicate this, but I don't want to do the replication yet. What about the backrest? I can use create extrude. I choose this. No, that is not, it doesn't choose what I want. How do I create the extrude now? It's not choosing the hole that I want it to choose. So what do I do? I can go back to the drawing. I don't want to do this drawing. I don't want to do this drawing a second time. But let's see, what would be the best way to do this extrusion? I don't want to take this. I don't want to do. Okay, so let me create a sketch on this page. I want to create a sketch here, and the sketch will be. I want to create a sketch, and that sketch can be this. And I can say, okay. So press pull there. Okay, so that is it. So if I go back to the sketch and put press pull, what I can do here is that I can press pull it, and I can create the backrest that way. Let us say I want that to be 1000. Let's say minus 1000. Okay, so now that is, I don't like that. I don't like that because you can see that it came in the same color. So let me edit the feature. The reason why it came is that when you are doing an extrusion, you have to choose what operation you want. The operation I want now is that I want a new body. If I want a new body and I press OK, so this body is not joined, is separated from this other one. Similarly, I can go back to that drawing. I can create, I can choose, I can go back to the editing. I can edit here and edit the sketch again. And then I can choose this. I can edit this sketch, let's see. Or create a sketch here. Okay, it's not showing me. Let us create a sketch. Finish that, create a sketch, create sketch. I want it at that page. I want the sketch to be here. So I can create something here. I want not a center rectangle this time. I want a rectangle. I want a rectangle that is 2 point. So I can choose a 2-point rectangle. Okay. So I can press pull. Which is a way to call the extrusion. And now I've chosen that thing, just the way we did the, let us go to the home view, just the way we did the back, that rest. We can do this and we can make it a new, we can make it a new component. So we make it a new component. And this time we have it as one, let us make it 1000 to be consistent. The distance is 1000. So we can go on. So on this other side, all we are going to do now is to replicate this. All we need to do to finish is to replicate this and create another one. And in order to do that, it is better. We can make it a component. We can make a component out of this. To make a component out of this, all you need to do is to say component you want. Okay, let us take this body. This is body 2. If you right click body 2, it says create component from bodies. Let me see it again. You see, you go to the browser, you choose the body, and one of the things listed on the body is create components from bodies. So if you create a component from the body, so that component is component 2. You can name it. You can name it backrest. You can also create a component out of the body 1. You create component out of the body 1 and you name it arm. So name it arm. So you can see here now we have 3 components. If you want to get the one on the other side, what do you do? Simple. All you do now is that you can do a pattern replication of arm. So we can, to do a pattern replication of arm, you just go to the, you go to create pattern. Create. Where is pattern? Yes, this create pattern. So you create rectangular pattern. And then you, what type? It gives you this drop down. The type is component. The type could have been faces, bodies, features, components. But it's component. An object is already chosen. Object. Okay. Select this object. And there is direction to direction for it. So if you turn on your origin, the direction we want is the direction of the x-axis of the y-axis. So we want to create it in the direction of the y-axis. Direction of the y-axis. So it knows it is going to create it in this side. How many do you want? How many do you want? You want, you said quantity 3. No, I want only 2. So quantity will include the number, including the one that you are creating from. So if it is like this now, I can put this one here. And if I am happy with it, I can actually say the distance type. The interesting thing is that I can tell it to go as far as this face. Okay, the only thing is that it went as far as the face, but the face is on the other side. So I don't like that. So I can make it, I can use my eye to gauge it for now. You will see more powerful ways to do this. And if you're happy, you say, okay. So this is the bench. Simple. Now, I want us to go on a break. Please, if you have questions on this and you want me to take a look at it again or any part of it, if I was too fast on any of the issues, let us know. But I just want to show you that once you finish your sketch, it's a piece of cake. If you do your sketch properly to put the third dimension on it, it's a very simple thing. So this is the bench. Looks like a secondary school, a primary school children's bench, but it looks good. So let me give you some break now. It's 3:40 already. Our time is almost up, but you came 30 minutes late. So please, if you people want to be released at 4 o'clock still, because I don't want to encourage you to another program, put that on the chat. If not, I will take the 25 minutes that was lost at the beginning. If you don't want me to do it, say so. So I will leave you to go, and I will give you the slides of what I had planned to teach you. But if you have questions on this, be ready with the questions and ask me those questions before I go into the rest of today's class in my next installment. So for now, I'm going to give you 10 minutes break. We meet again at 3:50. Okay. So okay. So let me see the slide again and see what else we need. So we have created, we need 15 again at 180 and 20 at 50. 15 again at 180 and 20 at 50. So we come here again, repeat, oh no, not sketch dimension now. We have to create a circle. Sorry, we have to create a circle, center, diameter circle at this one, and it's at 15. And 20 at 50, so I've created another one. And that 20 should be at 50. And then let's see which one we want again. What else do we want? We want 10 at 150. 110 at 150. So we have another one, which is 10. Repeat, 10 at 150. 10. So again, you want this to all be at the vertical line. So you take this, and you put the horizontal vertical constraint. Take this, then take this and this. So all of them are in that, but you want this distance, to be 50. So you get the dimensioning, create dimension. So this distance to this distance should be 50. And then this distance to this distance should be 150. So that is what we have. So the next thing we want to do, let's go back, because I want you to be able to follow the instructions. The next thing we want to do is to get a path for the inner circles. So if you want to get a path for the inner, you want to get this path. To get this path, you have to take a line that is tangential to these two circles, okay? So we want a line that is tangential to the circle. So what you are going to do, let us make this thing look big. And then you take a line. Once you want something to be tangential, you just take something near it. You don't let it be tangential exactly. Okay, so after you have done that, you now take the tangential constraint. So this, and then this. So that's tangent constraint. So let us make this in big and then choose a trimmer. So this trimmer, you see, this trim sits here, and then you use pan. You pan that thing up. It's not too far. So you'll still have your trim, repeat trim. So this one goes off. So you can let it be fitting the page. So you can see this. You can do the same thing on this side, but there's a neater way to do it. So since you already have this, you can do a mirror image of this along this axis. Because this axis is not drawn, we do what we call a construction line. So I want to draw a line from these two centers, from here to here. That line has been drawn. I choose the line. If I choose that line I've just drawn and press X, pressing X turns that to a construction line because it is not a line that I want. I need that line for other things, but I don't want it to appear. I don't want it to appear on my work. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use this line as a mirror image for this one. So I create mirror. I create mirror, and then it gives me a dialog. It says it selected one object. I don't know what object is selected because it may not know what I want selected. So I turned that off. This is the object I want to mirror. Then the mirror line is this line I just created. And once I say OK, you can see that it has gone around that mirror. So the next thing now is to trim. I trim this and this and this and this. Therefore, I have a path that goes around here. I have a path that goes around here. The next thing I want to do, let me look at something. This is at 50, this is at 150. Everything is correct. So I need to offset the path out. Okay, let us see, because I have already got this inner one. I want this outer one. I want to offset. Okay, so I go back there now. I say, I now create offset. I'm now going to create offset. This is the icon for offset. I create an offset, and I want an offset of this entire path. And let me make it 3 out rather than 4. I want it to be 3 out, but it has given me 3 in. I want it to be 3 out, so I'm going to take this to be minus to make it out. Or is that too small? Let it be 4 as I put there before. So that's 4 out. Okay, so that is the offset. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to take a spline. I'm going to take a spline from this one to this, and take a spline from this one to this. So I'm going to create a spline, and that spline is going to start from here to this one. And if I'm happy, I click yes. Now, though that spline, I want to be sure that I can make that, okay, if I'm happy with that spline, I leave it like that. I want another spline on the bottom side. I create another spline. My marking menu, okay, start from here. I'm not happy with this spline. So what I want to do, I want this spline to be tangential to this. You can see that, you can see what is happening here. I'm not happy with that. There are several things I can do. I can move this spline. If it's not letting me move it, let's see whether it will let me move this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the tangent. I'm going to say, okay, I want this spline to be tangent to this. So that will give me a better result. So that is a tangent. As before, I want to do the same thing on the other side. To do the same thing on the other side, I want it to be symmetrical. For it to be symmetrical, the best thing to do again is to create a mirror. So create mirror. To create a mirror, select the objects. This is one object. This is another object. And then create the mirror line. I select this mirror line. And if that is okay, that is okay. The problem I made a mistake. I should have done my trimming before the mirror, but it doesn't matter. So now I need to do some trimmings now. So I create a trimmer, and in trimming, what I'm going to do now to trim, I'm going to trim this, 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 this. So I have that trimming done there. And then what am I going to trim again here? I'm going to trim this and this. So let me fit everything now to the screen. So basically I've finished my sketch. So I can now start extruding. I can extrude. So let us see what the instruction says. Extrude. Spencer buttons. Did it not tell me to extrude? Okay, extrude 10, 7, 15. Okay. Let me go back to the drawing. I'm going to extrude 10, 7, 15. I'm going to extrude this one 10. Okay, so I can create an extrusion. Create extrude. Select profile. This is a profile. Start from profile plane. I want this extrusion to be symmetrical, and I want the total length to be 10. You see, that extrusion turns off the whole thing. That extrusion is, I'm not even happy with that extrusion. So I want it to be bigger than that. Let me do the edit feature. I want that extrusion to be 20. Okay. It has turned off the sketch. I want the sketch on, so I can turn the sketch back on. I can create another extrusion. Create extrude. Okay, I can even use the marking menu. Okay, no, it didn't give me that. So let us create another extrude. And then I want it to be symmetrical. And I want it to go, let us say, the double length of 10. And or 15. So this 15, and I want it to be a new body. So the last extrusion I'm going to do is the profile in here. No. So I do this extrusion here, and new body, I'll say okay. So the last extrusion is the inner circle here. So create extrude again. For the marking menu, repeat extrude. I want this extrude to be 30. And it is going to be symmetrical. It's not going to be that big. Let's make it 15 on both sides. Okay. Oh, let me edit that feature because it has done something wrong. Edit feature. I don't want it to join. I want it to be a different body. So I have a choice. To make this thing clearer, I have several bodies now. I have 3 bodies. I can make them different. I can make this the body 1, body 2. Let us see what is okay. Body 1, body 2. Let body 1, let body 2 be a different component. So I make a component out of. I want to make a component out of this third one. Okay. So I want to make a component from bodies. So that's a component from that body. Let me make a component from this body too. and make a component from the third body so that you can see them in different colors. So you can see, if we use an orbit now, you can see the kind of, I can turn off the, let me turn off the sketch so that the sketches will not be disturbing us. So, and even, so you can see that we have made, this thing, and it's like this. Okay, so that's it. So you can follow the instruction and take the dimensions. These dimensions are not particularly good. Take the dimensions and follow as much as possible. You should be able to do this very easily. So you can see using constraints, making sure something is horizontal, making sure something is vertical, making sure something is symmetrical. All of those things are controlled by the constraints in the sketch. You don't try to use your eye to gauge anything. Let the computer do the calculation by itself for you. So let us go back now to so from here, we can continue. This is how I started until I developed the full engine here. So this engine, for instance, you can see that these connecting rods are just replicas. These pistons are just replicas, and this crankshaft is just similarly the same. So the connecting rod we created could be replicated and assembled with other components, including crankshaft and piston. Using the assembly facility in Fusion 360, we will then animate a working engine with proper firing sequence. So we can animate them with proper firing sequence. If you see, you will see that the angular orientation of all these pieces are different, and the point in them, I deliberately allow the pieces to come out so that you can see them. And sometimes I even allow transparency so you can even see when it's inside the block of the cylinder. So these are things you can do. You will discover these are very interesting things to do. And by the time you make this to move, you yourself, you can have some bragging rights with your friends in the hostel that you can make an engine. And you can do this, you can make an engine, because today the manufacturing processes are automated. Gone are the days where you just have one smoke field stack factory. You will now have laser cutters, CNC machines, 3D printers, even metal printers. All those things they are coming. It is the ability to do these things that will matter, not so, because everything will now be coming from software. So it's better for you to just be a master of this. By the time we are able to afford those output devices, you'll be making engines very easily on your own. So that is how to position underdeveloped country like Nigeria for the future. Make sure that its young people are well educated. So that so they are so well educated that even if they ban them from using Twitter, they know what to do. So nobody can hold them back. Okay, so this is more of that same inline engine. And the same thing can be used to make a V engine. Here, I use the same piston and the same piston, connecting rod, and crankshaft to make a V engine. And I did it, assembled it, animated it. I did a complete YouTube to demonstrate this on Vimeo on YouTube 4 years ago. So check this link. Check the link to this from my personal webpage. This is the link. So the reason why I'm not giving that to you really directly is that I am teaching Fusion 360 slightly more differently than I did at that time, because Fusion 360 has improved. So I don't really like to go back to my old notes, but this was already done. And if you watch this video to the end, you will see that the thing is actually animated, and the engine with its firing sequence and everything. And it started just the way this is. I'm showing you this to see where we are going, so that when we are drawing, we are not just drawing like your olden days. We are futuristic. You should be able to make things in the software. Then you go to animation and simulation. That is the way the world works in 2021. And it is going to be more of that in 2022 and beyond. So if you start with a powerful software today, don't think that this is limited to engineering drawing. This is the entire engineering you are going to do, because you are going to select the parts, you are going to get the forces, you are going to get the strengths, you are going to select the dimensions based on principles of elasticity, plasticity, and all the dynamics and all those ones. You are going to do all the analysis right in this same environment. So it's better for you to begin to know that this thing is not just a joke. We are going to do a lot of things that are in your other courses. So you stay here. This software is going to be with you. Some of you are going to earn your daily bread by doing this. So better take this seriously. If you look, you can see that the firing order is selected here, where I will show you how to select the firing order, how to do the assembly, in the correct way, and all those ones. Go look at my video, and we will get there. But my experience is that when I tell students what to do, some of them just fire on. In fact, by the time I look back again, they will do things that will surprise me. So I am telling you, surprise me. So if I can do this, that means that you can do better. So, and it's going to mop up your time. All the time you used to shout at night, disturbing me in my house. I want to make sure that I mop all of that time up and use it to give you skills that's going to give you your daily, not just your daily bread, that's going to make you, first of all, rich on your own, and you make your community rich. And Nigeria, if unfortunately it still keeps existing when you are now out of the university, I don't expect it to be existing when you're out of the university. So whether it is Oduduwa Republic we are at that time, then you make that republic very rich. And if you are in the Biafra, that will be better still. So those are the kind of things that will happen. So let us go on with this thing. If you have questions, post them online, but go to the video and see how this is done. We only did the connecting rods today. We might go into details of the other things, but you can see most of these details on my website. That, like I said, there may be better ways of doing things now because Fusion 360 has improved from what it was when I did some of these things. So I think that is the end of the lecture. If there are no questions, you'll get these things posted for you on the. This is will be posted for you on the webpage. You can download them, and you can see that. But please, continue listening to the video trainers. What you will notice is that I do not try to repeat what those people have said. Instead, we practice them. Practice those things rather than just somebody repeating that same thing to you. Because I want to emphasize the fact that it is not hearing those things over and over that's the issue. If you keep hearing those things and you don't practice them, you will not have skills. If you practice, you go back again to listen. When you go back if you go back again to listen to video 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just today's experience will make you hear them in a better way because you would have gotten used to some of those things. And when you are doing it on your own, practice those steps. Don't just take a look and go on. Well, I think we can call it a day here. So have a nice weekend from tomorrow, and see you next week. Please, if you are going to be late, tell your class rep to fix the time at 2:30. Then I will not quarrel with you. I can come at 2:30. But if it is 2, if you don't come at 2, after I've waited for 5 minutes, I will cancel the lecture. Bye-bye.